Every single map you've ever seen, from an ancient scroll in a museum to the navigation app on your phone, owes its existence to a forgotten, messy, and absolutely brilliant struggle. This isn't just a story about drawing lines on paper. It's a story of accidental discoveries, desperate journeys, and unexpected breakthroughs that laid the very foundation for global exploration. Today, we're unearthing the chaotic human drama behind humanity's very first attempts to chart the unknown. Prepare to see maps in a whole new light. Imagine ancient humans, not as cartographers, but as survivors. Picture them, perhaps utterly lost, using charcoal from a dead fire or mud from a riverbank to sketch the landscape on a cave wall or a piece of animal hide. These weren't maps in the way we think of them. They were desperate attempts to orient themselves, to remember the location of a water source, a good hunting ground, or a dangerous predator's den. This is where our story begins, with the primal need for mapping as a literal life or death skill. For our earliest ancestors, understanding territory wasn't a hobby. It was the key to finding food and avoiding becoming food. Their world was mapped out in their minds, a complex web of landmarks, scents, and sounds. But the real game changer, the spark that ignited everything, was the shift from these personal mental maps to shared symbolic representations. The moment one person could show another a drawing and say, "This is where the mammoths roam," it set the stage for both incredible collaboration and, inevitably, for conflict. Fast forward to the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. Here, we find something extraordinary, the Babylonian map of the world. This clay tablet, dating back over 2,500 years, is more than just a geographical drawing. It's a cosmological statement. It shows Babylon at the center of a flat, circular world, surrounded by a bitter river, with mythical islands dotting the beyond. What these ancient cartographers believed they were mapping was their entire universe, a blend of the known physical world and the divine, mythological realm. Their map reflected their worldview, placing their great city at the very heart of existence. But these maps weren't just for philosophical musings. They were powerful tools of administration and control. Think about it. How do you run an empire? You need to know who owns what land for taxation. You need to plan military campaigns and know the routes your armies will take. You need to manage vast irrigation projects. Maps became the instruments of power. They were the spreadsheets and databases of the ancient world. Yet, for all their ingenuity, their limitations are just as revealing. Look at the edges of their maps, the vast unknowns, the speculative regions labeled where the sun is not seen. These gaps don't just show what they didn't know, they reveal their incredible bravery. To live in a world where so much was a complete mystery, to sail towards a horizon that might literally be the edge of the world, required a courage we can barely comprehend today. Often, the greatest leaps in cartography weren't planned, they were forced. The history of mapping is filled with accidental discoveries and global game changers that sent mapmakers scrambling to literally redraw their world. A sailor blown off course by a storm might stumble upon an unknown island. An astronomer might notice a new star, suggesting the heavens, and by extension the Earth, were different than previously thought. The slow, steady expansion of trade routes, especially by sea, rapidly accelerated the need for better maps. Merchants, risking their lives and fortunes on long voyages, demanded more accurate charts. They needed to know about treacherous reefs, safe harbors, and prevailing winds. This created a feedback loop. Exploration demanded better maps, and better maps fueled further exploration. This was the era where different mapping traditions began to collide. A trader returning from the East might bring back a map that looked completely different from what was known in the West, leading to a fusion of knowledge, but also to confusion and misunderstanding. It was a chaotic, exciting time where the world was literally taking shape on parchment, one discovery at a time. Then came the Greek Revolution. For the first time, thinkers began to apply a scientific and mathematical approach to geography. This was a monumental shift. Philosophers like Anaximander created some of the first world maps based on logic rather than myth. It was the Greeks who introduced the game-changing concepts we still use today. A grid system of latitude and longitude, the idea of climate zones, and most audaciously, the theory that the Earth was a sphere. Think about the sheer intellectual leap made by Eratosthenes, who, with just sticks, shadows, and brilliant geometry, calculated the circumference of the Earth with astonishing accuracy over 2,000 years ago. It was a testament to the power of human reason to grasp the true nature of our world. Following the Greeks, the Romans brought their characteristic pragmatism to the art of map-making. While the Greeks were interested in the theoretical shape of the entire world, the Romans were focused on what was useful for running their vast empire. They needed maps for one primary reason: efficiency. Their focus was on military logistics, infrastructure, and administration. The famous Roman road network, stretching from Britain to the Middle East, wasn't just an engineering marvel. It was a mapped network. Roman maps were incredibly detailed itineraries, listing towns, distances, and stopping points. The Peutingers table, a surviving medieval copy of a Roman original, is a perfect example. It's not geographically accurate in a modern sense. It's stretched and distorted, but it was perfectly functional for a traveler planning a journey along the Empire AS roads. This created a fascinating tension that still exists in mapping today: the struggle between theoretical, scientific perfection and practical, on-the-ground application. Do you need a perfect model of the globe, or do you just need to know the quickest way to get from Rome to Londinium? Ultimately, we need to reframe how we see these ancient artifacts. A map is not a static object. It's not just a picture of a place. It is a living document of human ambition, of boundless curiosity, and sometimes of profound and spectacular error. Every line, every name, every empty space on an old map tells a story. It speaks of the person who drew it, the society that produced it, and the journeys that inspired it. These early, often wonderfully imperfect maps did something incredible. They laid the foundational cognitive pathways in our brains for every subsequent exploration, every scientific discovery, and every global connection we now take for granted. They taught us how to think spatially about our world on a grand scale. So, as we look at our own modern maps, generated by satellites and powered by AI, it's worth remembering their humble, chaotic origins. The same fundamental human impulse that drove an ancient hunter to sketch a river in the dirt is the same impulse that drives us today to chart the deepest oceans, the surface of Mars, and the invisible territories of the digital world. The next frontier of mapping might involve tracking climate change in real time or navigating the complexities of quantum data. But at its heart, the story remains the same. It's the story of us, a curious species, constantly trying to draw a line around the unknown to make sense of our place in the universe, one map at a time. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories about how we came to understand our world.